Welcome back to Falcon Figures, where today I'm going to be doing another WWF Hasbro figure unboxing, and these guys are all going to be figures from Series 3. So as you can see on the table, I've got my Series 3 guys out already, or all the Series 3 figures that I have at the moment in the mint loose form. So these are all guys I've taken off card previously. This is a bit of a difficult series to complete because there are some big figures in there. There are a few figures that go for big money. Brutus Beefcake in the zebra pants, so the second edition of Brutus Beefcake, he's a big one in there. There's the Hulkoplex Hulk Hogan, he's in Series 3. And there's the Ultimate Warrior figure that is the third edition of the Ultimate Warrior. It's a kind of weird one where his feet move and make his arms go back and forward, the same move as Jack Gonzalez and Skinner have. But years ago, I mean before the COVID spike even, years ago that figure was one of the most expensive in the entire Hasbro line. I'd seen it go on eBay for £400 and £500. It was up there at the time with like a Dusty Rhodes figure. And recently, the value of that figure has just plummeted. I mean, now they go from maybe like 100, 150, something like that. So that's a strange one. That one. It was always one of the more expensive ones, one of the more rare ones, but recently, not so much. It's kind of coming down a little bit in price. But yeah, Brutus is still up there as an expensive one. Another one in Series 3 is Macho Man. So there's the Randy Savage figure that is essentially just, I don't even think it's a repaint. It's just a reissue of the figure in Series 2 because he came out in Series 2 as Macho King with the scepter and the crown. But then he's out again in Series 3, and the only difference is he has no accessories, and rather than saying Macho King on his tights, it says Macho Man on his tights. So obviously I need it. I mean, I was going to say I don't know if I'm going to get that or not, but obviously I'm going to. I mean, if it was the only figure I didn't have from the entire series, I would have to go after it. It's not really just a reissue in the same way that maybe like Tatanka is, or Razor Ramon or Shawn Michaels are, where it's just the same figure that comes out in a later series. There is a difference. There's a slight difference because it doesn't have the accessories and it's got the different wording on the back of the tights. So yeah, I suppose you do need it. But like I say, Series 3, even though there are some easy to get guys, like this man here, Greg Valentine, I mean, he's probably the most accessible Hasbro. Maybe him and Samu from the Head Shrinkers in the Series 10. They're probably the two easiest to get. And yeah, but in the same series, there are some of the really difficult ones, like those guys I've just mentioned. However, it's a big series. There are, I think there's 12 in total in the series, and a few of them are the kind of the mid card, this level. So the guys like Mr. Perfect, like Coco, supposed to a lesser extent, Texas Tornado, they will still go for good money in decent condition. But obviously I look for them on kind of banged up cards, beat up cards, or even foreign cards, so that we can unbox them and let them breathe. And we've got a couple of other figures from that series in just that condition. So first one I have is this man. This is the Big Boss Man. So obviously the second edition of the Big Boss Man, as you can see, this card has seen better days. It looks like someone has had a real bad attempt at taking a price sticker off here and just like taking chunks out of the card when they were doing it. And the card's also ripped over here on the left hand side as well, a couple of creases. So in terms of mint on card, collector value, not really much attached to this, so no issues opening them up. But even at that, I don't think this figure is like a really rare, valuable one in tip-top condition. I mean, obviously most of the Hasbros are pretty valuable, but in the context of the value of other Hasbro figures, this one's not one of the really expensive ones, even in the best of shape. So, but yeah, as I say, it's the second edition of the Big Boss Man. I do have Series 1 Big Boss Man already, took him off the card very early on in this process. He was one of the first figures I unboxed. But this is the Series 3 version, which is almost like a complete revamp of the figure, because the Series 1 figure it depicted a pretty fat Big Boss Man. He had a huge big sort of return belly, and even his bottom half, like his legs would come out to a point where his belly sticks out, and they really were trying to depict him as being a huge big like overweight heel, I suppose, at the time. I think he was a bad guy. Maybe not actually, because he was anyway. Regardless, but he was. They were trying to give the impression that Big Boss Man was just this like huge guy when the first figure came out. But for this one, they've slimmed him right down. I mean, he is in really good shape. For considering that's only like 2 years, if that, between these figures getting released, his in figure world anyway, he has dropped a hell of a lot of weight, like half his body weight, from fat Big Boss Man in Series 1 to skinny Big Boss Man in Series 3. So I think he did in real life kind of trimmed down a bit, but nowhere near as extreme as the figures would depict. But anyway, let's crack them open and have a closer look. There we go. So, my childhood memories of this guy, because I had this figure as a kid, and my childhood memories were, this was the first clothesline figure I had that broke. And it was a common occurrence as sort of childhood went on and you had more and more Hasbros. The clothesliners, this arm would break. Like you would drop them, you would smash them, and the pin would come out of this arm. And then you were left with like this heartbreaking decision where your mum and dad were going to have to glue it back together. And do you glue it like that, so he's got that kind of body position where you can slam people and stuff, or do you glue it like that where it's like a running clothesline? And that, I remember deliberating for hours over how I wanted the arm glued. Did I want it glued with the fist pointing forward, or did I want it with the arm opened up like that? And a few of my clothesliner guys ended up with glued arms towards the end. But Big Boss Man, I remember dropping him on the kitchen floor on the lino and his arm broke, and I had to think about it. I had to sleep on that one to figure out how I wanted him to be glued. And I think I actually glued him like that. I think he was glued with the arm pointing forward so I could sort of scoop up and slam people and stuff. But yeah, so Big Boss Man, again, not a really desirable figure, not a really rare one. And to be honest, I prefer the first one. I mean, I know that he is a lot slimmer, and in terms of like his moveset and his mould, there's more sort of action to him. He's got the action for the clothesline, and he obviously stance. He's kind of like in an action stance, and as I say, he can scoop up and slam and things with his arms in that pose. But I just thought the first Big Boss Man looked better. I just thought it was a better figure. It looked more like the Big Boss Man. And yeah, I think he was probably my favourite version. I think he is my favourite version of the Big Boss Man, and not this guy here. Even though he is, I suppose, the updated version of the Big Boss Man. So, like the first Big Boss Man, he does come with a nightstick. Now, this is where I'm not an expert in these areas, but I know some people that will like talk for hours about WWF Hasbro accessories. I believe the nightsticks are different. I don't know how. I'm not entirely sure. Like if they are significantly different or if there's like one minor difference, but I think the nightstick that comes with Series 1 is a different nightstick from the nightstick that comes with this guy in Series 3. I really should have got my Series 1 Boss Man out to compare, but he's in a Ziploc bag and he's in a container, so I'm not going to go rummaging through. But yeah, this is, I think it's a different nightstick, and I think that the nightstick accessories are worth different amounts. Again, it's not something I would go. I'm not really into like looking for loose accessories, because a lot of them can be reproduction. A lot of people try to just like scam you online and just sell reproduction stuff that they've made in a 3D printer. So if it's not something I've taken off the card, I wouldn't go looking for an accessory, generally speaking. So because I don't look for them, I don't know what I'm looking for. But I think it's something to do with like the notches or the ridges in the handle that are different somehow. There's more of them, or they're thinner or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so Big Boss Man into the loose figure collection, and another one ticked off for Series 3. So, as I say, Big Boss Man, not one of the more desirable, more expensive ones in the range, but this next guy, he actually is actually. Yeah, this is Sergeant Slaughter. So I've got him on a French card, and it's a pretty decent French card. I mean, there's a tiny bit of a curve to it, but other than that, there's not much. A wee bit scuffing around the corner. but there's no, the bubble's fine, bubble's intact. It's not cracked or anything like that. But I got him really cheap. I got him really cheap just over Christmas there. I think it was like 20 or 30 quid or something I picked this guy up for. So, I mean, I could probably resell that for a fair bit of profit, but I don't think I want to. I don't think it would be possible to get him again for that price. So, I don't think I'd be able to open him up again off a card, because I'd have to pay closer to like at least 100, especially if it was on an American or an English card, the English language card. You're talking like well into three figures to get a Sergeant Slaughter, I would think, especially one in good condition. Yeah, there's a variant or a misprint of Sergeant Slaughter that kind of does the rounds then again, because for some reason, I don't know why it's just this figure, but the Sergeant Slaughter on the English language card, there's a few of them out there without the name. So most of the Hasbros, all the Hasbros actually, have got their name. There's Bossman underneath the bubble, Sergeant Slaughter there. But there are a few Sergeant Slaughters out there that don't have a name, and they're sort of traded as misprints, as factory errors. And either it's the same one that gets sold over and over and over again, or there are a few out there, because I've seen it a few times on different websites, don't just mean like on eBay. I've seen people posting pictures on social media. I actually think the Wrestling Universe were selling one at one point as well, which was a Sergeant Slaughter with no name. And that's pretty much the only figure that you see like that. I mean, you do see a few where it's like Billy Gunn in a Bart Gunn bubble or something like that, so it's like the wrong name underneath. But to just have no name at all, I think is pretty rare. But Sergeant Slaughter is one that you see. So yeah, there's an expensive misprint out there for Sergeant Slaughter. So yeah, anyway, as I say, I'm not going to get this guy again, certainly not for the price I got this one for. So even though it's a reasonable condition card, it's a fallen card, but it's a reasonable condition one, he's still coming off it. So here comes the Sarge. Here we go. So this is a pretty cool figure, man. That's really stiff. Action's really stiff. This is a pretty unique figure as well. I think I was going to say, I think is it just one arm that has the action? I thought it was just like the same as Roddy, but both arms are moving. I don't know if that's just because they're stiff or if they're meant to go separately. I don't know. Anyway, so it looks on the bubble like it's both that go up and down. He's got this pointy finger, which I don't think anybody really likes. I don't think there's any other figure that has that. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any other Hasbro that has this pointy finger, and it's just really awkward and clumsy, and there's not really much you can do with it. It's like a kind of, he's pre-match, he's just coming into the ring, he's taking his jacket off, still got his hat and his shades on, and he's just pointing at his opponent. He's just kind of giving him the snarl on Sergeant's face there, which I suppose that's fair enough, but you're not going to have your finger sticking out when you're actually wrestling somebody, so it's a wee bit clumsy and awkward. But the detail in the figure, I mean, the camouflage, the utility belt he's got on, he's got like the little pockets on his combat trousers. That's really good, man. That is spot on. I didn't have this figure growing up, but my cousin, who I've talked about before in previous videos, my cousin who's just a few weeks younger than me, so we're essentially the same age growing up, he had lots of Hasbros as well, and he had Sergeant Slaughter, and I remember being well jealous that he had Sergeant Slaughter, and I never got one. Sergeant Slaughter's not one that I ever had, so really, really happy to have him just now. I don't know, I mean, he's a good figure. It's one I'm not sure about. I mean, holding him in my hand, I think that's a pretty cool figure. You know, it's a good figure, a good representation of Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, his face is almost spot on. You know, that is exactly what Sergeant Slaughter looked like. But obviously the finger's kind of awkward. And I don't know, there's just something that, for me, doesn't make this guy a top drawer figure. He's just not, you know, when you have like a Bam Bam Bigelow or Adam Bomb or even The Undertaker, like, these guys, there's just something about them. When you're holding them, you think, man, this is an awesome figure, an awesome toy. I don't get that with Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, I can appreciate how good it is. I mean, how the level of detail and what a good likeness there is there. I mean, I can appreciate it for that, but I don't know that he's not a top level. He's not a tier one Hasbro, I don't think. He's not right up there with like the very best that you have to have on your shelf. You have to have on display. But he's an upper mid carder. Let's just say that he's above average. And like I say, when you get up close and have a look, there's a lot of detail going in this guy. And again, with unique parts, he's one that you have to have in your collection, because anything that's unique, you have to have at least one of, I'd say, to have a full Hasbro collection. So, unfortunately, those are all the Series 3s that I have at the moment. Well, that I have that I'm going to unbox, because I do have some more, but I need them for another video. So there is a specialist tag team video coming up soon that I'm chasing one figure for. I've got about 4 or 5 that I've been waiting for months to make that video with, but I'm still chasing one figure just to get my lineup complete to do that video. So there are a few Series 3 guys that will be in that video, and I also managed to get one of the really hard to find Series 3 figures that I mentioned at the start of the video on a foreign card on eBay recently, but it's coming from America, so it could be weeks or months. So that, again, that'll be a future edition. That'll come out in a video in the future. But for now, two more ticked off the list for Series 3. And once I get those videos made and out there as well, I'll have probably most of the series at that point, and I'll just be chasing the really hard to get ones like Brutus and like Randy Savage and one or two others. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, please hit the like button. Leave me a comment even. Share the video through social media. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Stay safe. We'll speak soon.